On April 24th, Fernando Mendoza got picked by the Raiders, and it should have been a celebration. But reports are coming out about a heated argument during that call, and talk that Mendoza wanted out almost immediately. What was supposed to be the greatest night of his life is now getting very complicated very fast. April 23, 2026. Commissioner Roger Goodell walked out in Pittsburgh and said a name nobody saw coming just 18 months ago. The Las Vegas Raiders picked quarterback Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, first overall. The Heisman Trophy winner, the guy who went 16-0. He wasn't even there. No stage, no handshake, no jersey photo. Mendoza stayed home in Miami with his family. Roasted pig in the backyard, Cuban celebration, people he loves. That alone raised eyebrows, because the Raiders had been locked in on this kid for months. GM John Spytek turned down every trade offer. He was convinced Mendoza was the right move. But here's the twist. Before the pick was even made, head coach Clint Kubiak said flat out, a rookie QB won't start week 1. They already signed Kirk Cousins, 1 year, $20 million. So you're telling the world your guy, Heisman winner, national champion, might sit behind a 37-year-old who threw 14 interceptions in his last 13 starts. That question was hanging in the air before Mendoza even put on a Raiders jersey.
To understand this story, you have to understand where Mendoza came from, because nothing about his path was normal. Fernando Gabriel Mendoza V. Born in Boston, raised in Miami. Cuban-American roots that go all the way back to families who fled Castro's regime and built new lives from scratch in South Florida. His parents were both Ivy League athletes. Mom played tennis at Cornell, dad rode crew at Brown. Sports were in his blood. His mom pushed him toward quarterback to keep him safe. Then he saw Tom Brady winning Super Bowls, and that was it. He was locked in. But here's the wild part. Growing up in South Florida, one of the biggest football talent factories in the country, Mendoza was barely a blip. 3-star recruit, ranked 288th in Florida. The only offers he got were from Yale, Penn, and Lehigh. He was heading to the Ivy League. That was his ceiling. Then one school, just one, threw him a lifeline. Cal Berkeley offered him a scholarship in January 2022 only because another quarterback backed out. One Power 5 offer out of 130 programs. That's it. That's all he got. And that single offer changed everything.
At Cal, Mendoza redshirted in 2022, then took over midway through 2023. In 8 starts, he threw for 1,708 yards and 14 touchdowns. The next year, he leveled up, 3,004 yards, 16 touchdowns, just 6 picks, even while his offensive line gave up one of the most sacks in the country. But the program was falling apart around him. 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. A heartbreaking collapse where his team blew a 35-10 lead against Miami and lost. 4 losses by a combined 9 points. So on December 11th, 2024, Mendoza entered the transfer portal. He chose Indiana. Picked the Hoosiers over Georgia and Missouri because he wanted Curt Cignetti to make him NFL ready. His younger brother Alberto was already there as a backup QB, and that connection sealed it. What happened next was historic. Mendoza didn't just play well at Indiana. He was unstoppable. 72% completion rate, 3,535 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions all season, 0 interceptions in the playoffs. Indiana went 16-0. First conference title since 1967, first national championship ever. That's not just good, that's all-time great. Mendoza became Indiana's first ever Heisman Trophy winner. And he didn't just win the Heisman, he swept everything. Walter Camp Award, Maxwell Award, AP Player of the Year, Davey O'Brien, Manning Award, Big Ten MVP. He cleaned out every trophy case in college football. He now stands alongside Joe Burrow and Cam Newton as the only players in the modern era to win the Heisman, the national title, and go first overall in the same cycle. Burrow took Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. Newton won NFL MVP. That's the company Mendoza is in now. Not bad for the kid ranked 288th in Florida with 1 scholarship offer. In his Heisman speech, he thanks Cal, the first to believe in my future. Even at the very top, he never forgot where he started. And the message he carried with him, his mom told him, don't put a ceiling over your head. That mindset, that underdog wiring, was about to be tested the second the Raiders came calling. Let's be honest, the Las Vegas Raiders have been a mess for a long time. No playoff win in 23 years, only 2 winning seasons this century, 7 different starting quarterbacks in the last 3 years, a 3-14 record last season. This is a franchise that's been spinning its wheels for decades. The last time they held the first overall pick was 2007. That's when they drafted Jamarcus Russell, widely called the biggest bust in NFL draft history. Now they're back at number 1, and they're taking another quarterback. GM John Spytek said the process was thorough and honest. No coronation, just Mendoza checking every box along the way. And Tom Brady, Raiders minority owner, was deep in the evaluation. Having a 7-time Super Bowl champion help scout your franchise quarterback, that's a different kind of advantage. But the tension was already building. Cousins was signed before the draft. Kubiak openly said the rookie might sit.
Cousins had 44,000 career yards and 298 touchdowns. Impressive numbers. But his recent stretch was rough, and now the franchise was telling the world that its most important draft pick in decades might have to wait his turn behind a veteran on the back nine of his career.
Former Raiders QB Derek Carr went public with a blunt message. The NFL is faster, the windows close quicker, and beating Ohio State is not the same as beating an NFL defense. Fair point. But here's what made it sting more. Insider Ian Rappaport reported that the Raiders' actual plan was for Cousins to start all of 2026 and hand things over to Mendoza in 2027, a full year on the bench. That's the plan for the first overall pick, with 41 touchdowns and a perfect postseason. So now we get to the real question everyone's been asking. Did Fernando Mendoza quit the Raiders after a heated argument on draft night? Let's go through exactly what happened. When Goodell called his name, the cameras went to Miami. Mendoza was surrounded by family, emotional, overwhelmed, grateful. Before the announcement, Kubiak and Spytek called him. Mendoza said he got chills all over his body the moment he saw that call come in. Then, at his post-draft press conference, he didn't sound like a man who just had a blow-up. He said he's at the bottom of the totem pole. He needs to earn respect, and he'll do whatever the team needs. He was asked about Kirk Cousins. His response? Gracious, calm, and mature. He called Cousins a great player and a great leader of men. The very next day, Mendoza flew to Las Vegas for his first press conference as a Raider. He stood next to Spytek and Kubiak, looked into the cameras, and said he's done with the outside noise. He's officially a Raider and he's hungry to get to work. His new teammates were already reaching out. Texts from Max Crosby, Tyler Linderbaum, Colton Miller, and Kirk Cousins himself. Crosby went straight to social media minutes after the pick, hyped and ready to welcome his new quarterback. Then came one of the most powerful moments of the whole night. Raiders Hall of Fame coach Tom Flores, 89 years old, the franchise's first ever quarterback, a fellow Latino, gave Mendoza his blessing to wear number 15. He deserves it, Flores said. If he's not the real deal, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And Jim Plunkett, the last Latino taken first overall 55 years ago, said he hoped it wouldn't take another 55 years. Mendoza heard all of it and felt every word. He talked about the Raiders' deep Hispanic history, carrying that torch, and his family's new foundation, the Mendoza Family Fund, built around fighting MS, the disease his mother Elsa lives with every day. So, did Fernando Mendoza quit the Raiders? No. He celebrated with his family, took the call from his coaches, flew to Vegas, held up the jersey, and spoke with the kind of humility that made an 89-year-old Hall of Famer give him his blessing on the spot. Was there a heated argument? Zero evidence. None. Not during the draft, not after it, not anywhere in the pre-draft process. What is real is a complicated quarterback situation. The Raiders plan to start Cousins while Mendoza learns. Spytek calls it a meritocracy. Derek Carr says Cousins should start. Ian Rappaport says the plan is a full year on the bench. And Mendoza? He says he's fine with all of it, because the only thing Mendoza has ever quit was Yale, and he left to chase something bigger. From the 288th ranked recruit in Florida, to the overlooked kid at Cal, to the transfer portal bet at Indiana, every single time someone counted him out, he won. Don't put a ceiling over your head. He didn't quit, he just got started.